Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about The Suicide Squad yet again, only this time we are going to be doing an in-depth spoiler review of the film. So this is your warning. If you have not seen The Suicide Squad, come back to this video when you are done watching the film. It is currently on HBO Max and in theaters, and you have all the time in the world to see it. So once you're done seeing the film, come back to this review and watch it here. Or if you don't really care about spoilers, hey, that's fine too. If you just want to hear about what happened in the film and then go watch it from there, hey, that's even something that you could do. I've never really thought about it that way, but some people would like to watch spoiler reviews through the eyes of knowing what happens first and then going and watching it. I never really thought about it that way, but sometimes people would do that. Well, other than that, we're going to talk in-depth spoilers. So again, that's your final warning. So let's talk about the Suicide Squad. Guys, I already said it in my non-spoiler review. This movie is absolutely batshit crazy. It's insane. And the first 10 minutes of this film is exactly, honest to God, it is exactly what I thought it would have been. As soon as they started this film, I knew exactly where they were going. It honestly, and I'm not saying that's a flaw inherently with how they set up the beginning of this film, like it being like very predictable, because I knew that they were going to kill these characters off. So basically, the movie starts off with introducing us to the team, the Suicide Squad, our team that we are getting, and of course, they pull a Deadpool 2 on us, and they completely kill everybody. Yeah, they kill everybody in this first squad. They kill Pete Davidson, who is Blackguard. They kill Nathan Fillion's character, who is TDK. They kill Michael Rooker, who I forgot what his character's name is, but they kill Michael Rooker. They kill Flula Borg, who is Javelin, the guy who carries around all the Javelin. They kill Sean Gunn, who is playing Weasel, and they also kill. And this one was tough. This one was tough. They killed Captain Boomerang. Jai Courtney, who obviously plays him. I really liked Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang in the first film. It really is sad to see that he is not going to be around anymore for these films, because I really did like his character. I thought his character was actually pretty funny in the first movie. Granted, I know not a lot of people like the first movie, and the first film's not really that good. But to me, he had most of the funny moments in that film. And then they killed off another character, which is Mongal, or I think that's how you pronounce it, Mongal, who is the orange lady, or what, I don't even know. She doesn't even have a superpower in this film. I mean, what is her ability? She doesn't. And they even make a joke about it in the film. What are these guys' powers? And Rick Flag's just like, oh, I didn't pick the team. And these guys have the silliest, most nonsensical powers. They don't even do anything. Pete Davidson's character, he literally dies by just walking. It's insane. Weasel dies at the very beginning to drowning because he can't swim. Like, again, guys, they told us what was going to happen. It's like, don't get attached to these characters. You have no idea what's coming. They could throw a twist in every single part of this film to make sure that you know that these characters are going to die, and they might die in the most twisted, sick ways. So everybody does die on this first team. Now, the two people who do survive are Harley Quinn and Rick Flag, who, of course, were in the original film as well. They did survive the film, or they did survive the beginning part from the first team. And it also introduces us to the second team, which is consisted of Peacemaker, played by John Cena, King Shark, played by Sylvester Stallone, and Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba, as well as a newer actress that I have never heard of before, named Daniela Melchior, who plays Ratcatcher 2. That's the Oh, and of course we can't forget my man David Dastmalchian, who plays Polka Dot Man. If you guys don't know who he is, he's in the Ant-Man films. And he also plays one of the I don't know what the term is for these type of men, but he plays one of the people in The Dark Knight that tries to shoot the mayor during the parade scene in The Dark Knight, along with the Joker and all of them. He's that guy as well. So he plays Polka Dot Man, and that is the second team of the Suicide Squad. And of course, we all know the Suicide Squad, they're always made by Viola Davis's character, Amanda Waller. And Amanda Waller in this film is such a better let me rephrase what I'm going to say. She's not a better character, But Amanda Waller or Viola Davis, she plays it exceptionally well in this film. She played it really well in the last film too. There are some people who honestly say the character of Amanda Waller in the first film is the best part of that film. And to a degree, I actually kind of agree in some sense. Now, she's not the best part of this film, not by any stretch. I think there's a lot going on in this film that's a lot better than her character. But Viola Davis is amazing in this film. Again, she brings it. She is such an incredible actor. I cannot say that enough about her. She is so good in this film. She brings a lot of good acting chops, and she has her funny moments as well in this film. I can't give her enough credit. So basically the premise of this film, I couldn't talk about it in the non-spoiler review, but essentially the premise of this film is that these two teams of the Suicide Squad are called in to destroy some evidence that the U.S. government is trying to corrupt, even though they don't know that at the time, that the U.S. government is trying to cover up from in South America. I don't remember the exact country that they're in South America, but they're infiltrating a country in South America that is holding some secrets that the U.S. is trying to cover up for. And they send two teams in, and one team obviously gets completely destroyed, and the other successfully makes it on the beaches. And along the way, they come across some, certain plot points that involve certain characters doing certain things, like Harley Quinn, for example. Harley Quinn goes on her own little adventure, like very, very small adventure at some point in the middle of the film. Ratcatcher and Idris Elba and that team, they also go on their journey, of course, because at that time, they're the only team that's remaining, so they have to complete the job. And so they get their way through this country in South America to try and complete their mission. And basically, by the time they get to the end, they have to fight the main villain of the film, which is Starro. And we already knew that was the main villain because, of course, it is revealed in the trailer that is who the main villain is. He's essentially this kaiju monster that is a well-known, DC villain in the comics. And I don't really know too much about him. I will say, though, I'm pretty sure if I'm correct, somebody can fact check me if I'm on this. There is an animated television show that featured the character of Starro in it, and I don't remember what that show was. I want to say it was Batman Beyond, but I could be wrong about that because the show that I'm referencing does include Superman. I can't think about it off the top of my head, but essentially, Starro is the main villain. He's his real name is Starro the Conqueror. That's what they refer to him as. And by the way, that's kind of it's kind of ironic and funny because the villain of this film is Starro the Conqueror, and we just got the newest big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is Kang the Conqueror. A lot of conquerors going on around here. Just a little note. So that's essentially the premise of the film. That's what's going on. But at the same time, this movie, to me, is such a dynamic, character-driven film that features some of the best. Here's what I'll say. I said in my non-spoiler review that I think Man of Steel is still my favorite DC movie by far, DCEU movie by far. I would go as far to say that The Suicide Squad, by far and none, is the best DCU film in the slate of DCU films that we've gotten that divulges into character development. When it comes to the character development, this is the best DCEU movie by far and none. The character development is so rich in this film. You learn so much about the characters that you get. Obviously, the characters that die, you don't really get much for them because, well, you can't really do that if they're dead. So, the characters that do live in this film, up until the point that they do end eventually dying, because by the end of this film, there is actually only 8 remaining characters left in this film. John Cena played Peacemaker, Harley Quinn, King Shark, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher 2, and Sol Saria, played by Alice Braga, who I'll also mention later on in the film, and Weasel, played by Sean Gunn. Those are the only characters in the entire film that end up surviving. And these characters all get great character development. Even David Dastmalchian's character, who ends up biting it in the end by Starro, he got some great character development as well. You learn what is going on with all these characters. Even a character like Joel Kinnaman, or Rick Flag, I should say, played by Joel Kinnaman, who also, sadly, unfortunately, does bite he doesn't bite a bullet, but he does get stabbed in the end by Peacemaker, who I'll talk about here in a second. Joel Kinnaman does bite it in the end as well, and I thought this movie did so much more for his character than the first one, and it really sucks to see that we are also never getting him ever again. I really liked his character in this film. I cared so much more about him. There was so much more development, and it's like even before he died, you learn about a transformation, or not even really a transformation. There's like a small character piece of development that by the end, when he's like, hey, I joined to serve my country, and now I'm going to turn my back against them because of the fact that I'm learning about what they're doing to somebody like me and how they're treating somebody like me to do all their dirty work. That was so key and important. I thought this film is so good. James Gunn, let me just say this right now. James Gunn, you are a genius. I cannot say that enough. James Gunn might honestly be the best director in all of superhero / comic book filmography right now. If you really take a closer look at the films that he's done when it comes to the superhero genre, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and now the Suicide Squad, he has I can't say this enough. How many directors would you say would, if they were given the task, would be able to make a great film in both cinematic universes for both of the biggest comic book and superhero IPs that there is, DC and Marvel? Who would have thought that the guy like James Gunn would have been able to do it? Not me. I never in a million years thought a guy like James Gunn could do that. I mean, this is a guy that not a lot of people really know of that much when it comes to filmography. Like, he's a guy that's mainly known for Guardians of the Galaxy and now probably for the Suicide Squad. So I can only say that hats off to James Gunn, man. The guy is a genius. He is by far one of the best filmmakers working today, 100%. He brings it in this film in every way when it comes to character development, and I love that he did that. And he tells the story in such a perfect way. He does show and tell in the best way possible, because I always say, if you're not going to show, then at least tell me in a good way. And if you're not going to tell me, show me in a good way as well. But here, he does a mix of both. He shows and tells at the same time in the most perfect way. I love how he did it. It was so perfect. Other than that, let's hop off the James Gunn train here and actually talk more about what happens in the film. But so by the time we get to the end of this film, our characters have come to a point where, now they're getting to the end point of their mission. And we find out that Starro is the main bad guy of this film. And so Rick Flag, he is trying to complete his mission, but not in the way that you think. He's going to take the information that is being held by the South American government, the government of this country. He's going to take it and he's going to turn it over to the press because he feels betrayed by the U.S. government for what they did to him to put him in this situation to do all their dirty work. And so, in the process, my guy, John Cena, Peacemaker, turns on him. And that is the big twist of the film. John Cena is not a good guy. He is not a good guy. You may think he's a good guy by doing what he's doing in the beginning and middle half of the film, but it turns out he's not a good guy at all. He's trying to help Amanda Waller, who hired him to help, as he likes to say, keep the peace. And he's trying to cover it up as well. And so he ends up killing Rick Flag. He kills him. And so this was a huge scene. I was really not expecting this. And in the process, while the ending keeps going, he's about to kill Ratcatcher. And Idris Elba has something to say about that. He kills him. Or at least that's what he thinks. Rick Flag or Peacemaker and Bloodsport face off in a duel with one another. And Bloodsport ends up winning the fight. And he kills him. He gets shot right in the neck. And so, in doing so, that's why we get a post-credit scene for Peacemaker. And I'll talk about that in a second as well. And so, moving on from there, Starro escapes. The great, mighty Starro the Conqueror. He escapes from his prison. And he wreaks havoc across this entire country. Basically putting his little starfish thingies on top of people's faces to control them. He's wreaking havoc, destroying all these buildings, just creating absolute chaos. And also, let me just point out something. For those of you who have never seen the film Slither, that film is so reminiscent in this film when it comes to the character of Starro, because if you've never seen Slither before, Slither is basically a film about this virus-like parasite that essentially it takes over the hosts, which are humans, and turns them into zombies. And that's essentially what's happening here with Starro the Conqueror. And that is why, in a way, if you really think about it, Starro the Conqueror is the perfect DC villain for James Gunn to tackle, because he's done this before. I have to say, this film was so perfectly put together. Look, I'm not gonna say anything yet, but if I had to put out some Oscars right now, some Oscar hype for this film, I would do it right now. I feel if the Oscars were tomorrow, he should get a lot of Oscar consideration for a lot of the stuff that he's doing in this film, because it is just amazing how this film was made. I can't believe that they were actually able to pull this off. And so that's essentially the Slither connection. And so the remaining people of the Suicide Squad have to fight off Starro and kill him before he does any more damage. And they're basically turning against their mission, because Amanda Waller wants them to leave the country and let Starro just destroy everything. But they don't turn back. They don't turn away from the city. They go and fight Starro. And so this battle is insane. And of course, in the process, the people who work with Amanda Waller knock her out because she's about to kill the Suicide Squad. And I thought that was so funny. I mean, oh my God, there's so many good moments in this film. And so the remaining Suicide Squad, they have to fight them. They have to fight Starro, and this fight scene, while it brings the action, it also brings a lot of emotional beats as well, especially with Ratcatcher. I have to give so much praise to Ratcatcher and the actor. She is so good in this film. She's spectacular in this movie. I cannot give her enough credit. And so the fight goes on, and they eventually kill Starro. And Harley Quinn, who I haven't really talked about a lot in this review, she takes Javelin's javelin, and she stabs Starro in the eye, right through the center. And she allows all the rats that Ratcatcher calls in from this entire country, and in the process, they kill Starro through those means. And that's it, guys. That's the film. That's how it ends. And wow, it was a joyride. Now, before we end this review, let's talk about the mid and post-credits scene. Because, well, let's just say the mid-credit scene is not really the biggest thing in the world. I honest to God, I'm not taking the mid-credit scene too seriously, because, okay, so for those of you who've seen the film, Weasel is still alive after drowning in the beginning of the film. And of course, if you don't know, Sean Gunn, who is James Gunn's brother, he plays Weasel. And I almost want to say it's like this rule for James Gunn's movies that he doesn't ever kill his brother off in the films that he's in, that James Gunn does direct. I want to say Sean Gunn will never die in his films. So he probably did that just as a way to make it like a joke. I don't think Weasel is ever going to play a big part. I think he's just going to go around killing children. Like Rick Flag had mentioned in the beginning of the film. Like, Weasel has killed 27 children. That's probably what the joke was. So I don't take the mid-credit scene too seriously, but the post-credit scene, you have to take very seriously. So for those of you who don't know, John Cena's character, Peacemaker, he lives. He lives after getting shot in the neck. And I almost want to say that the way he survives getting shot in the neck is because the dude has so much muscle on his body that the amount of muscle he's got on his neck prevented him from losing so much blood and dying. It's like, how did this man just survive a gunshot to the neck? It's insane, man. And so we find out that he's alive. And of course, news broke before this film had ever released that Peacemaker was getting his own series for HBO Max. And I think it's a prequel, but I want to say this movie almost implies that it is a sequel because of the fact that he does live. But I don't really know. And now I'm super excited for that series. John Cena, if you don't know, he is a wrestling guy. He was never really an actor to begin with. So he's basically trying to break his way into the acting world. And I have to say, this is probably his best performance. I think this might just be his best performance that he's ever done. As far as a role like this, anyway. I think he was so good that, honestly, I'm so excited to see this Peacemaker series. I really am. I'm excited to see what he does with it. And I'm excited to see what James Gunn does with it. Because James Gunn's doing that series. So, wow. Okay, I'm out of breath, guys. I've got nothing more to say about this film. Again, as I said in the non-spoiler review, this movie is a 9.5 out of 10. I really don't have much to say about this movie in terms of negatives or issues. I guess really the only thing that I could say about this film that is a critique or like a minor issue is that the film does feel a little too long at times. And I also think there are parts that kind of go on a little too long. There are some scenes where the film does go a little too long. And also, I will say this too. I forgot to mention this character. I said earlier I would mention her. Alice Braga, the actor who plays Sol Saria, who is basically a freedom fighter and an activist in this film who's like fighting for her country and trying to like overtake it and overtake like the fascist tyrannical government that's taking over. She doesn't really get used a lot, and Alice Braga is a well-known actor in my opinion. I think she's good. I think she's a really good actress, and I don't feel she was used to her potential in this film. She's really only in the film, I think, out of the entire Suicide Squad, because she is a part of the main cast. I think out of the entire Suicide Squad, she does have the least amount of screen time. She's in the film for, I want to say, maybe less than 3 minutes. She's barely in this movie. And it's not to say that she needed to be in this movie for longer. I just think if you're going to give ample amount of time to all the members of the Suicide Squad, whether you're killing them off or not, this is a character that lived. She's one of the main 8 characters that survived this movie. And I feel you should probably have given her a little bit more screen time. And again, not everything needs more screen time than it already has. I'm just saying, I felt her character was kind of just there. I didn't really care for her character, unfortunately. I wish I had, because her plot line, the point of her character is that she helps take over the government, and she kills people. She kills the remaining generals of the tyrannical government. That's it. That's all she does in this movie. So I felt her character was a bit of a waste. Not gonna lie. Other than that, though, those are my only critiques of the film. Guys, I have nothing more to say. That is going to do it for this spoiler-filled review of The Suicide Squad. Guys, I cannot wait to see if we ever get a sequel for this film. I really hope we do. And I hope, of course, that James Gunn does come back for it. So, guys, got nothing more to say. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below. What did you think of the movie? Did you like my review? Did you like the film or did you not like the film? I want to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, so I will see you guys all in the next one. All right, guys. Peace out.